All right, Hardened Scales. This one's been around the fringes of Modern for a while now. It's put up for, top 8 results here and there. It's one of those decks where I don't like calling decks by tiers is like kind of semantics. We don't have objective measures to measure decks. But this is one of those decks where like when it top 8's a tournament, you're not surprised to see it in the top 8. But when it doesn't top 8, you're not like, oh, Hardened Scales didn't top 8. So like I think it's a reasonably powerful deck that has a lot of neat math that goes on with it. One of the big questions people ask is, hold on one second. One of the big questions people ask is that, how does this deck compare to traditional Affinity or Robots? And I think they're just kind of, they have some overlapping parts, but I think just because they're both Arcbound Ravager and Steel Overseer decks, they shouldn't be considered the same thing. I think both decks have different benefits and downsides to them. The big benefit that traditional Affinity has is that it gets to play cards like Galvanic Blast and other interaction because it plays more multicolored lands, whereas this deck is mostly just green. Hey, Kale BG, thanks for the 2 months of Prime. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me employed here. This hand is kind of okay. Hopefully we can cast Ancient Stirrings to find Hardened Scales, and then this hand will be great. Yeah, Hangarback Walker does give this deck a little bit of grind that traditional Affinity definitely doesn't have. I agree with that assessment. Walking Ballista can be Galvanic Blast in this deck. For the people that are commenting that Ancient Stirrings doesn't find Hardened Scales, you missed the joke. It's okay, don't worry about it. The people that got that joke will appreciate it. I think it's just Arcbound Ravager here. None of the rest of those are very exciting. I think I was actually looking for Hangarback Walker there because I already had a good spread. You think Modern's a little warped right now? I mean, it depends on what your definition of warped is. Morning, Anner. Like, main deck Graveyard Hate in Modern is a lot like main deck Red Elemental Blast in Legacy. It's one of those things where everybody knows the graveyard decks are busted and should probably have been banned, but they've all been legal for so long that it's just like, well, you can't ban Brainstorm, it's a pillar of the format. You can't ban Faithless Looting, it's been legal for a decade, Jeff. Why would you want to ban Faithless Looting, Jeff? Faithless Looting did nothing wrong. Look, all I'm gonna say is, for the sake of fair is fair, all I'm gonna say is that Splinter Twin was consistently much less represented than Blue-Red Phoenix is now when it was banned from the format. So that's all I'm gonna say. Mazer Mouse, I want to make a mini standard battle box. I was thinking going with Abzan Hero, Just Get Controllers yesterday, and Green-Red Dummy. Domri, do you think they would have fairly balanced matchups? Yeah, those decks all sound pretty interactive. Shaka Shaka, thanks for the 9 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Dr. Jack, if you look in your Twitch settings, it should tell you when your sub expires. Unfortunately, the rest of us out here don't have access to that information for you. So we're playing against Blue-White Control, which, in my experience, this is actually one of the matchups we're having. We talked about a splash color a little bit earlier. It might have been before I started recording for the YouTube folks. The splash colors really help this matchup. This matchup can be tough in my experience. You really don't have counterplay against Terminus. So, like, our grindy cards are like Hangarback Walker, and this card just eats it to Terminus. Because Terminus puts all the creatures on the bottom of our deck so we don't get friendos. CST, thanks for dropping in for the 2nd month in a row. No, thank you, Dr. Jack. Good to have you around. That being said, I'm going to start by attacking with everything in case they have, like, Snap Op digging for Terminus, I think. Gosh, I'm so smart and thin. CST, thanks for the... Oh, I already said that one. BMEC, thanks for the 21 months. Welcome back. Alright, so I'm going to sack Arcbound Worker here, which puts an extra counter on here. I'm not sure that it's really good enough. Maybe the fact that you can Eternal Witness it back makes it good enough, but I'm cautiously optimistic. So this is smart on my opponent's part. My opponent shooting their health total is a bit of a resource here. They're waiting till my end step to cast the Opt, because this way if they find Terminus, they get to kill the Walking Ballista too. That being said, if they find Terminus here, I get to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage to them. So I need to fade Terminus for like one more turn here. 1 to 2 more turns. So I need them to not have Terminus this turn and not have Terminus on my next turn, is basically what it comes down to. Oust. Put target creature on top of its owner's library. Well, that's incredibly rude. Now the question is... Oh, I have Spellskite, right? That's the question. Why is this even a question? I have a Spellskite. So, we redirect the Oust to Spellskite, and then we sacrifice the Spellskite. Easy game, easy life. Okay, and we're snap ousting something then. I do not really have thoughts or opinions on what optimal Hardened Scales builds look like. I don't have enough experience with this archetype to really give feedback on that. Are they dead? I think if they don't have a Path to Exile, they're actually dead. I believe in a thing called love. Yeah, if they don't have Path here, they're actually dead, which is, you know, Magic's a high variance game, right? Watcher upon the threshold. Thank you for the 7 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. So this attacks for 8. And then I put 2 more counters on here from the Arcbound Ravager and they die. So they go to 7. I'm going to sacrifice Arcbound Ravager to himself. I'm going to put these counters here. I would like to shoot you in the face. Walking Ballista is like basically a colorless fireball in this deck, which is often sweet. In my experience, this deck like regularly kills people from like high health totals. Just like, oh wait, you just died this turn. Whoopsie, whoopsie poopsie. Alright, so Nature's Claim, Evolutionary Leap, Karn, Sign of Urza. You basically have to bring in all the Nature's Claims against any deck that could possibly have Stony Silence, because Stony Silence like takes your deck and turns it off. Welding Jar, blue-white control, while they could have Supreme Verdict in their deck, often don't really have things that actually destroy artifacts. This card's not particularly potent in this matchup. This card's very good against like red decks and decks with like black and red removal, stuff like that. Hive Mind, checking in for the 9th month. Welcome back and thanks for keeping me around. Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday wherever you're at. Alright, what else do I want to trim? Yeah, Rip is also annoying because it turns off our modular. I think I'm gonna turn off Throne of Geth. Yeah, that's true. The Venn diagram on the overlap of decks that are Rest in Peace decks that are also Stony Silence decks. There's a lot of overlap there. Alright, so I need 2 more trims here. Can I cut a land? How greedy is that? Probably pretty greedy. Like, a scale of 1 to greed. Can I cut a land while I'm on the draw? Like, boarding in Karn. Gonna cut a land? That sounds like an appropriate modern level of greedy. Morning, Ben Faith. Pink beard greedy. Yep. Alright, I need one more trim around the edges here. Maybe it's just Hangboy. Just because this doesn't grind well against Terminus. I'm gonna go with that. What's my favorite deck in Modern currently? Vanifear Cord, not close. The deck's awesome. Feels powerful and it's a lot of fun. I was actually really excited. Someone got 34th with it at the SCG Open this past weekend. Yeah, like, the Mox Opals are basically lands, and Ancient Stirrings finds lands, too. That's notably why I didn't cut a green source, because we have Ancient Stirrings to cast. This hand's super reasonable. It needs a second land in it, but I've got Ancient Stirrings to dig for that. Yeah, Jeskai, traditionally speaking, doesn't play Rest in Peace either, though, Dimir Spy. If you look at most Jeskai lists. God bless us, everyone. Demonic Tutor resolves again. Swing low, sweet chariot, come along to carry me home. Do. Magic players don't cut lands during sideboarding, though. They cut lands while they're during the deck building portion. So I feel like cutting lands during sideboarding is underappreciated, underexplored idea. I'm gonna lead on Hangboy because he gets charging his laser pretty quickly. Half a year. Thedorix, thank you for the 6 months. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me employed here. Hope you're having a good start to your week. Happy Tuesday. Look at that. Kept the one-lander, curved out perfects, never didn't have it, etc., etc. I'm gonna play Blasty Boy. Blasty Boy up in your base, shooting counters in your face. Do. Me too, Harbinger. Hopefully we have another good set. Opponent thoroughly checking out all their options here. No, I just added Jeskai control back in Party Bus. Deal. One of your finest basic forests, please. What's going on, Lord Bully Pants? Always remember, if you're hungry for some Hogland content and I am not online, you can pop on over to the YouTube channel on my website. It's all very organized on my website. YouTube searchable as well. Turn 5 Niv is real busted. All right, so do I want to go up or down on here? Like, just flooding the board with poopers probably isn't the worst. I think I probably want to draw some cards though. I'm probably in the market to draw some cards. Arcbound Worker, Hangarback Walker. Yep, sign me up. One to three Karn is kind of stuck. Not really abnormal. Wait, what? Fucking the interface in this application is rancid. So, for what just happened there, I know I clicked through it, but the interface randomly prompts you yes or no for if you even want to open the search window. So, like, a lot of the search windows say, hey, do you want to search? Click here to search. And then other ones don't. There's just not really consistency across any of it. So muscle memory gets me on occasion. So I should have another forest in play. Will do, Milbot. Thanks for the support. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite me. I'm sure it's going to. This deck, one of the things that's really nice about this deck, actually, is this deck's very capable of using all of its mana every turn. So, being down a land there is kind of a big deal. Alright, so I've got a Hangarback Walker in exile with a counter on it, but I just drew one for the turn as well. What is this Teferi doing? So he's at 5. So do I think I just smack him with this Walking Ballista and put a counter on it, and then I can double shoot. I think we're probably dead to a Path to Exile here. Sure, so here's the thing that's really important, Geoff, and this is one of the reasons why Arena is such a better piece of software than Magic Online, is because random people who want to like push their glasses up on their face and say, actually, good interface design, things that make the application a pleasant experience to play with, good interface design should always take priority over doing things technically correct within the confines of the draconian Magic rule set. So when you're playing Magic in paper, there are a lot of parts of the rules engine of the game that you just ignore or pass through because it's so clunky and slow to follow everything to the letter of the rules that it's not worth doing. So like the auto passing system on Arena is such a great example of that, right? Like the experience is just so much better because it's not waiting for you to manually click OK every time something happens. Mueller, thanks for the tip. I appreciate that. That's for the deck you sent through yesterday. Let me pull up my dashboard. Whoop. Sounds good. Will do. Thanks for the support. So again, like one of the reasons why, in my opinion, Magic Online is poop is because there are a lot of places where it very, very much adheres to the letter of the law, if you would, for how the rules engine is supposed to work, with zero disregard for with your regard for like what good interface design actually looks like. A good user interface doesn't just let the user do its job. It helps the user do the task they're intending to do. Alright, so I'd really love to draw a land next turn. So that way we can go module, Arcbound Worker, make a 1/1. Nature's Claim. Do I want to just shoot this? I might want to just shoot this. Yeah, they're going to like Stony Silence me next turn. I'm going to be sad, but I think I want to just shoot this. Yeah, basically Party Bus Driver. This deck plays a bunch of cards that are synergistic with having a bunch of 1/1 counters out. And then it makes them very large very quickly. So things like Steel Overseer, for instance, put 1/1 counters on all of your creatures. Things like Arcbound Ravager and stuff like that do things like that as well. I don't know what that means. Jumpstart X. What does a Crispicula level play mistake mean? Like, have I messed up and lost a match because I messed up? Yeah, definitely. Anyone who's played enough Magic has. Anyone who tells you they've never made a mistake that lost them a match of Magic in a tournament is either lying or hasn't played much Magic. Rexbox, thanks for the 3 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me employed here. Awesome, Clowncopter. It's my birthday, so I decided to get myself something nice. Well, happy birthday. Alright, so if I attack with everything, it's not lethal. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit with the Arcbound Workers. I think I'm going to hang back on the Steel Overseer for now. I think the Proliferate land's probably too slow. I'm going to activate these before I use my Steel Overseer, so that way they get 1/1 counters. Maybe I should have just attacked with them, although I did just play one, right? Yeah, maybe it's possible I should have attacked with this one. If they opt into Terminus here, I'm going to be incredibly sad and concede, but I think it's right to activate these before I do this. Yes is the answer to your question, Chalky. Both of those things are true. I played in the Cleveland Open this weekend and missed with lethal damage. I hadn't played against Bill when I was under clock and library pressure in the third game. I used a burn spell on the crab instead of the face, and I lost the match. Was knocked out of contention. Yeah, I mean everyone's had those moments. Sometimes they even happen within top 8. The Ghost Quarter here is a great draw for them, because it means they can take down my Inkmoth Nexus. So I probably don't even want to bother with that for now. Although I guess the upside to like firing up the Inkmoth Nexuses here is that it forces them to use the Ghost Quarter, which puts them down a land. In the final day of playing on the ladder, last time when I was trying to make top 1,000, I was losing up to 12 spots a minute. The grind the last day was stupid and high variance. Basically, just stay high, and the only thing that really matters is your matches at the end of the stream, the end of it. So if I get aggressive here, I can't play another creature out this turn. I guess that's not true. If I fire both of these up and they field plus Ghost Quarter me, I get to get 2 basics untapped. Yeah, I guess that's fine. So, Chalky, one of the things I would encourage you to break yourself of there is you're super worried about semantics and, like, labeling what this deck is. And, like, why is that useful? Why does the difference between is this a deck built around scales or is this a deck built around... Why is that relevant? Like, what beneficial thing do you gain by breaking down that difference? I mean, a lot of the times we don't know the history of things like that, right? And, like, Magic's one of these games where, like, you know, if 2 people can discover calculus at the same time, like, it's very possible for 2 different people to discover the same combination of Magic the Gathering cards at the same time. The concept of, like, deck ownership or I invented this or he invented this is so silly in my mind. I think it's one of the most absurd arguments that people make, trying to get credit for different things in Magic. It's like, well... See, like, here, Ghost Quarter makes me click yes. Although you actually can't see that because it's under the Tempo Storm box. Morning, Rycat. Alright, well, we've been thoroughly picked apart. I have 3 cards left. I think I'm going to put Spellskite down. It protects my Giant Overseer. Yeah, it's also a great comparison because, like, it's way more complicated than, like, what's going on, right? Like, a lot of these and This happens a little bit less in Modern, but in Standard especially, the idea of owning a deck idea in Standard is so stupid to me because a lot of the decks in Standard aren't really invented by the people even finding them for the first time. A lot of these decks in Standard are decks that R&D explicitly printed into the format, right? Like these are decks like when R&D sits down and develops, they're like, oh, there's gonna be an Esper control deck in this format, and there's gonna be a RDW deck in this format. And like, sure, maybe some of the details they figured out are different, but like by no means, I think it's pretty rare that, especially in Standard, an archetype gets discovered without R&D being involved. I guess like from a practicality perspective, I don't think that really helps you build the deck better or become a functionally better Magic player. So me personally, and this is subjective, I don't think like it's kind of just clutter in the chat. It's like not useful, right? Like how does knowing whether or not this started from a Hardened Scales deck or like spun off of a Robots deck, how does that make me better at playing the deck or help me understand what cards should be in it? Like, why is that a useful conversation to have? Oh, so I was trying to like play around Terminus, and I think with the soldier tokens here, that's like not going to be a possibility anymore. I think we're just on the please don't terminus me plan. You remember Infinite Series? Yeah, Infinite Series are great. That was one of my favorite parts of Calc 2. Yeah, so part of the problem too is though, like, especially with this Teferi now, they can hard cast Terminus from their hand, is another thing. I really, if we draw a Walking Ballista, they're dead. Does the always murder Teferi rule apply in Modern? I think it does. I think it does. The problem is, to murder Teferi here, I have to send my entire board at him. I think it does still apply here, though. I don't know. I can't do anything else, right? I'm just going to do this and smack them. I'm just going to hope they don't have a Terminus in their top whatever number of cards here. So what classifies as Calc 2 actually varies university to university, so there aren't really standardized things. In my experience teaching at a couple of different schools and having taken classes, Calc 2 usually encompasses series and integration. And then Calc 3 in most places applies to, what's the word that I'm searching for? Calc 3 generally refers to vector calculus, doing calculus in 3 dimensions. Calc 2 is usually a prerequisite to differential equations at most schools. But again, it does vary school to school and university to university. Different schools draw the boundaries at different places. What's the difference between Calc 3 and linear algebra? Calc 3 is specifically using calculus with vectors. Well, I mean, I get 15 boys and girls, right? And I guess with Teferi untapping 2 lands here, their Celestial Colonnade means they don't die. Which is kind of funny. Oh no, the Pendelhaven means they die, right? The Pendelhaven means they die? Alright, YOLO. So, they need a Path to Exile to not be dead here. Or like a Condemn. So I talked about this matchup being really hard, but then my opponent decided to take their deck that's already not very good and not play 4 copies of Terminus. Or if they are playing 4, maybe they're playing 4 copies of Terminus and Supreme Verdict and they're just incredibly unlucky. But in my experience, blue-white control players, a lot of them don't like to play 4 copies of Terminus, which is always just, like, completely blown my mind, because Terminus is, like, the only powerful thing about that archetype, and I genuinely don't understand why you wouldn't just put 4 of them in your deck. I mean, if it makes you feel better about your Magic evaluating skills, Paper Skate, I felt behind that entire game, but they elected to not put all the good cards in their deck, so we had a chance. Seems like, okay, not amazing, but fine. I would love an Ancient Stirrings, I think. Yeah, I think I'm in for that. They feel bad. Yeah, play more Jace the Mind Sculptor. If you're really worried about having them in your hand, play more Jace the Mind Sculptor. Ooh, turn 1 Aether Vial. This unclaimed territory is on humans. For those viewing at home, and no Magic Online is very tiny. This matchup's okay for us on average, especially with a hand like this where we have Walking Ballista in the opener. I didn't have a Ravager in play on X. I'd been playing last game with my finger above the concede button to counter the Terminus. Now your Terminus doesn't resolve. I'm taking my robots and I'm going home. I would not be surprised if this name's Walking Ballista. I think that is the correct name for my opponent's position. If they are familiar with the matchup. Yep. This matchup might actually be hard if the lack of black sideboard cards might make this matchup tough, because we only have 2 Dismembers in here. My preferred build of Hardened Scales definitely has a small black splash in it. We played a build that had Fatal Push and Assassin's Trophy, and I really liked the addition of both those cards. Played some discard spells in the sideboard too, which was nice for the control matchup. So, Meddling Mage here names a card when it comes down, and then I cannot play that named card, so I am unable to cast the card Walking Ballista. I'd have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for these darn kids and their meddling dog. Is it on the website? You know, I'm actually not sure if it's on my website. It's definitely on my YouTube channel. It's definitely on the YouTube channel. I think the Hardened Scales list on my website is a more stock list, if I recall correctly. I think if they attack with Meddling Mage this turn, I'm actually going to block with Steel Overseer and then pump to trade. Just because being able to cast the Walking Ballista is very valuable. Yeah, I agree. I agree with naming Walking Ballista. Cycling Horizon Canopy, Delio. If you just search green black Hardened Scales, it should come up Engineer. Green black Hardened Scales Jeff Hoagland YouTube into Google. Into Google. Looks like November 28th was the last time we played it. Here you go. Yay, Google. Alright, so this ends really poorly for me if they have Athalia's Lieutenant, but if they don't have Athalia's Lieutenant, we're in a great spot. And by great spot, I mean, like, okay. Who is that clean-shaven monster, right? It's scary. Well, I mean, a big part of that, Chalky, is the fact that a big part of why things changed is the fact that it's like other decks that are more degenerate that like line up well against humans got better, right? So like humans didn't get weaker so much as just like the Phoenix deck is absurd against it. Yeah, I think the fact that they traded off that Meddling Mage to let me get the Walking Ballista down probably means I have a good shot to beat them here. Especially with there's Arcbound Ravager in my hand. Like, God forbid we draw Hardened Scales next turn. We'll really dumpster them. Anafenza? So, Anafenza actually messes things up here a little bit because Anafenza stops Modular from working, which is super awkward for me. I think I just pass. I guess I could Arcbound Ravager, make a 1/1. I mean, kinda, Aaron. The part of the Phoenix deck that beats you as humans isn't really the Phoenixes so much as it's the thing in the ice. The Arcbound Ravager means the Anafenza can't really attack, which is nice. There is appeal to leaving Inkmoth Nexus up, though. Because, like, if I would have left Inkmoth Nexus up, what I could have done is I could have animated Pendelhaven blocked and turned this into a 1/1 and then shot it with Walking Ballista. But I think it's right to get the Arcbound Ravager down here. And again, just because Twitch chat's going to Twitch chat, and for people watching on YouTube at home halfway, I can't Arcbound Ravager onto the Walking Ballista because Anafenza stops modular from happening. Because modular explicitly requires that my creature die in order for it to work, and Anafenza stops creatures from dying. She says, if a creature would go to the graveyard from anywhere, even the hand, it gets exiled instead. Hey, Bash Gooder, thank you for the 16 months. I really appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. No, the Phoenix deck's been so warping in the format recently that Anafenza has even become a main deck card. Opponent flooding out here a little bit, which is good for us, obviously. Monster Man. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. So, animation module plus Arcbound Ravager lets me just, like, pay a mana to put a 1/1 counter on this, which is sweet. That's a Hardened Scales. Alright, so... it's possible to slog through Ballista. I don't know, maybe. I think Ballista plus Hardened Scales gives you the business most of the time too. Now we go Ballistic, yeah, basically. Morning, Ozzy. I am doing fantastical. I think we're in a pretty good spot here now at this point. I even have Spellskite to, like, hold down the fort against Reflector Mage. So I get to block here. And then Inkmoth has Mechanical Infect, which is going to put minus counters on their Mantis Rider. Which lets me kill the Mantis Rider with the Walking Ballista without losing my Walking Ballista, which is important. And then before this dies, I'm going to sacrifice the Servo to put 2 counters on here, which will trigger my animation module, and then I'll spend the mana from the Inkmoth to get another 1/1. Don't forget, animation module is cheaper than Ballista. Thank you. I definitely would have forgotten that. So, I think I just steal Overseer here. Go. Yeah, I agree, Pikes. Overseer basically means if I untap with this Overseer on my board, we're going to win the game. Share your opinion about metagame adaptations such as Anafenza and the main for humans. Depository, thanks for catching that Twitch Prime, I appreciate that. I think small main deck changes like this are the appropriate way to metagame in Modern. This isn't like a drastic change to your deck list. It's just like taking a slot that's kind of a flex card anyways and turning it into a card that's like good against what you expect to be playing against. I think that is the appropriate way to be metagaming in this format. Alright, so they're bouncing that, which I assume means that they plan to, like, Phantasmal Image this or do it again. So, this game's probably over before... This game's probably over before I can recast this anyway, so I'm actually just gonna go ahead and sacrifice this. So if they have another Reflector Mage, they get out of this. I think this is just like a desperation attack. Yeah, there's no mouse over interface for Modern either, and all the cards are tiny. Magic Online content's basically unwatchable unless you know what all the cards do or have a second screen open and like are looking up cards as you go. The quickest TLDR on Modern is that if you're familiar with Standard, Modern is like playing a bunch of different Nexus F8 decks, basically. It's a lot of linear combo decks that are trying to play past their opponent as opposed to playing with them. Well, part of the problem too, Sheriff, is that like it can often be hard to see like what the name of cards are that are played too. Second screen, frantically looking up cards here for Smith. Thanks for the third of the year. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for the Twitch Prime. My boss catches me watching MTGO at work. He just thinks I'm working in Excel. Oh, that's great. That's true. The rate of play is slow enough that you definitely have time to look up cards. All right, I definitely want the 2 copies of Dismember here. Welding Jar doesn't really accomplish much. Do I just want a Pithing Needle to, like, Pithing Needle their Aether Vials? Or do I leave in 1 Welding Jar so that way I can use it inside of combat? You think Karn's okay? Karn seems a little bit slow. I guess they're pretty likely to board Thalia out against me. Alright, I'll buy Karn is fine. I'm not too excited about a Welding Jar, so... There is a Karn in the sideboard. I think that's the only... I think Basic Forest and Karn Scion are the only standard legal ones left in here, right? Yeah, because, like, Walking Ball rotated out. Oh, Damping Sphere is standard legal. This card's, like... standard legal, right? Like, this card isn't actually a standard card. Well, I mean, modern... Okay, so I'd like to be very clear for something about your statement there, Monster Man. Modern does not have a deck diversity problem. Modern has an archetype diversity problem. And whether or not that's a problem is actually up for debate. There are a lot of people, including the folks at Wizards of the Coast, who think the current Modern format is plenty healthy. There are a number of people who think the current Modern format is very healthy. And whether or not they are right or wrong can be up for debate, but Modern definitely, on a raw deck diversity count, does not have an issue. There are a lot of different named decks that you can play in this format. Alright, so I cast Steel Overseer here, which enables Mox Opal I think I'm just gonna Witchmember this right away. That way she doesn't give me the business. I want to take a 5-ball next turn. Well, if they don't have a Meddling Mage next turn, Walking Ballista is going to take them to Pound Town. Read. I liked my Steel Overseer opponent. He and I were going places. We were doing things. Oh, the Mox. I was like, why is my Mox Opal not highlighted? It's currently turned off. Alright, so do I think I just Arcbound plus Hangboy for 1. I guess I can technically Ancient Stirrings here. Arcbound Ravager, that's definitely the one I want for Christmas. Sign me up. Let's do it. My gut instinct says that fear is unfounded, Monster Man. What I think the London Mulligan is likely to do is it's going to highlight the fact that the fair decks were never very good and they were only winning because Magic the Gathering has an incredible amount of variance in it. I think a number of the decks that people play in Modern aren't actually very good, but Magic just has enough variance in it that it's hard to tell that. It's hard to look at the information and go, yeah, this deck isn't very good. I didn't block with the Arcbound Worker because I kind of get got by another Reflector Mage if I do that. The old post-combat, draw the card that pumps my team. Good clean live in. I will take the extra hit point, thanks. Alright, so I hit a land. I think I want to get Steel Overseer down ASAP. And then I think I just get Hangarback Walker going. Did I have a lethal Inkmoth? I think you're right, I did. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, not lethal Inkmoth. So I animate this. Oh, I could have played the Hangarback Walker too, right? So if I animate this, this is 1, and then this does 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think I'm short. Animate is 1, and then this sacrifices to make it 2. This sacrifices to make it 3. This sacrifices to make it 4. This is 2, so this is 5, 6. Arcbound Worker 7, 8. This is 9. Yeah, but if I pump with Blinkmoth, I can't cast the Hangarback Walker Pikes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's only 9 here. I didn't stop to count it. I should have stopped to count it. You're right about that, but I'm pretty sure I didn't miss lethal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I think it's only 8 or 9 no matter how I slice it. But I agree that is what the London Mulligan are highlight. I do think it's a bad thing for the format as a whole. I have a feeling that fair decks that can compete on sub-level with the unfair ones is a hallmark sign of a healthy format. And Grixis and Esper control in Legacy and Standard. I think not having a strong fair deck will make people leave the format at least to some degree. Here's the thing. This is Hoagland's hot take of the morning. I'm not on Twitter anymore, so you gotta clip these hot takes from Twitch. I think there's a lot of people who only play Modern because they effectively have something that's very close to Stockholm Syndrome. I think there's a lot of people who don't actually like the play patterns that this format introduces, but they're priced out of playing Legacy, and they don't want to play a format that's rotating like Standard. So I think when a new non-rotating format releases in the fall, it's likely going to be fairly popular fairly quickly, because there's a lot of people that just want to play with cards that they have. They don't want to play Standard, but Modern kind of sucks, but it's all they have, so they're stuck with it. And once they're not stuck with it, they're going to go running to the hills to the next thing. Win Spinks, thanks for the 4 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. No, and like, so, and the thing that people take from that comment out of context, and because people love taking things out of context, especially when I say them, is what I just said there isn't everyone dislikes Modern. That's not what I said. Saying that there are many people that likely fall into this category is very different than saying all people fall into this category. I think there are a number of people who genuinely like Modern, but I think there's also a number of people who play this format a lot that don't really care for it, but it's all they've got really, and they like Magic, so they just deal with it. Second season of Sabrina is up on Netflix. Awesome. Deputy of Detention. Well, that's rude. Are they dead? Are they dead? If I animate this, so this has 3 counters on it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 onto the Inkmoth. Pump it with Blinkmoth. They die. No, I need a land for that, right? Because I can't. If I draw a mana source, if I draw a land next turn, I kill them. I could also just be super conservative here, and I can activate the Inkmoth and then not sack anything extra and like just make this a 4/4 because then Overseer kills it in 2 turns. I think that's probably the line, because if I go all in and miss on a land, I lose the game, right? Let's just count again. So this is 3 counters. This is worth 4, 5 counters. This is a 6 counter. This is a 7th counter. This is an 8th counter. So I can put 8 counters onto the Inkmoth. I think it's right to not gamble. On a UR Storm to Artifact Scale, competitive Bath Touch, where would you rate this? I think this deck has the most. I think this deck has the most arithmetic of any deck in Modern. I think counting with Storm by comparison is very easy compared to this deck most of the time. I missed on the land, so yeah, I think it's right to not go all in there. I really think it's right to not go all in there. I'm not dead on board, right? I can block 2 things and shoot something. If they cast a human, I'm probably shooting Champion of the Parish in response. They need a flyer to not die to the Inkmoth next turn. I didn't cast the Ancient Stirrings off the Mox Opal because I want to activate the Hangarback Walker so I get a 3rd blocker after I block in combat. Probably about a half hour to 45 minutes before we get to standard. Usually I like to play at least 3 matches with decks. This one's taking a little while this morning. It really wasn't. That's my favorite part of Twitch chat. Like, I sit there and count out the exact thing. Like, we literally counted it out like 4 times there, and someone's just like, yo, dog, you counted it wrong. It's just like, no, we didn't. That's why I counted it 4 times. Yeah, I should technically block the Militia Bugler because it's Vigilance here, too. All right, so we're gonna, I'm gonna lead on. I'm actually just gonna leave this up so I have max blockers next turn. Do you have a Dismember? Like some way to interact with this, or are you dead? So you'll note that I didn't activate my Steel Overseer there, and the reason why I didn't is right here on the screen. Dismember gives -5/-5, and my Inkmoth was already lethal. So by not activating aggressively there, I was able to save my Inkmoth from the Dismember because I pumped it up to a 6 after they targeted with the Dismember. There's no reason to pull the trigger aggressively. This is not Affinity, this is Hardened Scales, which has some overlapping cards, but it's a different archetype. Tron can be nothing against their explosive strats. I think if the Tron deck has 4 copies, 3 to 4 copies of Nature's Claim in the sideboard, the matchup tends to be good for Tron. Having played the matchup almost, I think it's really close, which is actually kind of weird. Like, Tron doesn't tend to have a lot of close matchups. I think that matchup's probably actually very close to even, but I would probably put Tron ahead. Yeah, we've played 2 matches in an hour and 5 minutes. So this is probably only going to be a 3 or 4 match league at most, depending on how quickly this next one goes. Yeah, but I want to save the Blinkmoth as an extra blocker for the next turn, just in case things go sideways early in. So there's no reason to, like, be aggressive with my Steel Overseer when they're dead anyways. I don't think I want a 3rd land here at this point. You're playing War Prison. I mean, I've got Welding Jar. I've got Welding Jar and Ancient Stirrings. Those are War Prison cards, right? Suspended Search for Tomorrow. Yep. Storm is 3. Your turn. This matchup's rancid for Hardened Scales Pikes. I believe that. We don't have any meaningful interaction on our sideboard, right? We're just like on a pure race. And they probably kill us on turn 4 a lot more often than we kill them on turn 4. Anger's a beating. Yeah, I'd believe that. So they have good interaction, and their deck is more linear than ours. That's a Steam Vent. Okay, maybe they're playing bad Scapeshift. That would be good for us. I would love it if they were playing bad Scape Shift. Yeah, Anger's not too bad for us with our current setup. I don't think I want to bring in Nature's Claim to blow up my own stuff. I think that's too narrow. Gaining 4 life is often not relevant. So yeah, it's like when your opponent plays turn 1 Tron piece and then their turn 2 is like Talisman. Oh, they're just playing a meme. Got it. They played a 4-mana Sakura Tribe Elder. Deal. Bless your heart, opponent. Bless your heart. That magic card was unexpected results for people wondering what card the opponent just did that put a Sakura Tribe Elder into play. Inkmoth should mean they're dead next turn. If I get a turn 4, they'll be dead. If I get a turn 4, we could die next turn. This puts them to land. They need like land, Scape Shift, land, ramp spell, Scape Shift. It was aptly named. You're not wrong. I'm shooting this for 1 because I want to attack them for 2. So by spending a counter, I deal 2 points of damage. Otherwise, this gets to block my Arcbound Ravager and then sacrifice itself to go get a land. So this is at 2 counters. This puts it to 4. This puts it to 6. This puts it to 8. I then sacrifice it to itself, which puts 9 counters on the Inkmoth. So I get to hit them with 10 with the Inkmoth next turn while holding up Welding Jar and Spellskite. So we should be done here. No, the Magic community as a whole is still pretty small. Definitely never run into anyone in the wild, so to speak. I mean, we beat a fetch land. We have Welding Jar and Spellskite. Alright, so my opponent has died. They're dead to Inkmoth. Magic. So, for those not familiar, Inkmoth Nexus is a land that has Infect. And Infect means if you take 10, it doesn't deal normal damage to opponents. And if they take 10 Infect counters, they lose the game immediately. I literally have no sideboard cards for this matchup. I'm going to click Submit and just hope to race them like we did that game. Do you have a favorite Legacy deck? I don't really. I'm not a big fan of the play patterns that Legacy generates. Or, to be more specific, the decks that are good in Legacy, I'm not a fan of their play patterns. There's really sweet things in Legacy that I like, but they tend to be terrible. Evolutionary Leap is okay. Yeah, I'd buy that for $1, sure. In. In Arena, I'm Assault Mine and having trouble enjoying the game when I'm losing. Is that normal, or am I maladjusted? I think working through being annoyed while winning or losing matches of Magic largely comes from adjusting your expectations from the game. So I think a lot of the frustration people experience when it comes to losing matches of Magic comes from having the incredibly unrealistic expectation that Magic is a game of skill. So while there are definitely opportunities for you to leverage your skill in Magic the Gathering, I think they tend to be fewer and farther between than a lot of people would care to admit. Especially in specific formats or in specific matchups. So like having a healthy outlook of this game is something that I enjoy, but I'm going to lose a lot of games that I have no control over. It's something that you really need to come to grips with. Oh, Simic Nexus. Okay, how does Graft work? As this enters the battlefield, this land is with 1/1 counter. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you may move 1 counter from this land to it. If 1 or more 1 counters will be put on a creature you control. Okay, so I drew this, which is kind of sweet. I expect Magic to fill a void in my heart. How could I be disappointed? Yep. And again, I think, like, a lot of that, too, is, like, Magic at a certain level is a very intellectual game, right? So, like, there's a lot of feel-smart moments in this game, and there's a lot of different things that are fun to think about. So it's very easy to confuse, like, you know, when you're playing a game that feels as intellectual as Magic is, it's very easy to let yourself kind of succumb to the feelings that, like, if you lose at a game of Magic, it's because you're stupid, right? Which is just, like, not the case. There's so many games of Magic that you're going to lose. They're just, like, completely outside of your control, and it's not because you're stupid. Although, to be fair, if you're anything like me, you're also going to lose games because you're stupid, but those are fewer and farther between in my experience than the games you're gonna experience otherwise. Actually, am I supposed to get Walking Ballista going? I think I'm just supposed to get Walking Ballista going. I want to pump up the jam on this ASAP. Although I suppose next turn I could have gone Llanowar Reborn into Walking Ballista, which would have been a similar amount. This is why I could never play this deck in a tournament. So, Fracturing Gust there. Modern is a format of really polarizing decks and matchups. So, my opponent played a card that destroyed all of my artifacts and enchantments, which hint is my entire board. And then they gained 2 life for every card they destroyed that way. So I did a bunch of stuff, and then my opponent cast 1 card that single-handedly dismantled my deck, and we stopped playing. Probably BJ Roth. I don't look at the deck lists in advance. And I'm also not going to play Hardened Scales 2 days in a row. So if there's a Hardened Scales deck at the top of the queue for tomorrow, I'm probably going to wait to play that till Thursday. It's a very good Fumigate, yep. It was kind of fitting in a way that just happened after we got done talking about Magic having a lot of games that you're going to lose that you have no control over. It was like my opponent was helping us illustrate the lesson that we had just talked about. It was very kind of them, really. Ooh, animation module. Yeah, I think I'm in for that one. Does animation module add animation of TGO? It does not. Things it does not do that. Sadistic, thanks for the 14 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday wherever you're at in the world. Onset nonsense. Good morning to you too. Do 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 do. Are they dead? Probably not. I'm probably dead to Walking Ballista. All right, time to count. Time to count. Put my Graftland into play. Cast my Walking Ballista. They added cosmetics, is the big one. Yes, please. This is... Remember when I said we were just going to race him? This is a turn 4 kill. For those of you who are counting at home, this is a turn 4 kill. So we're going to make the Ravager really big, smack them in the face, and then move the counters from the big Ravager over to the Walking Ballista to finish the job off. That was not bad. 2 turn 4 kills in a row. All right, we're running a little bit late with this, but I'm going to get in a 4th match just to give it a completely fair shake. This deck's really good. I kind of like playing it, so I'm going to run one more. We'll start standard a little bit late. I can run standard a little bit late. It'll be okay. Standard's probably going to be a long-ish set again today anyway, so I plan to start with Jeskai Control, which will probably also run long. Turn 4 is a little slow for Modern a lot of the time. You're not wrong. Thankfully, my opponent's deck was also kind of slow. I feel like every time we play this deck, I have really good results with it. I feel like we 4-1 and 5-0 pretty consistently with it if I go back and, like, check the scoreboard. Like, just almost every time it does something great. The Murpher Show, thank you for the 10 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. I don't think we're going to get to 5 matches, Anner. Because, like, playing this 4th one probably puts me till about 10 a.m. and I can't do Modern till 10:30. That'll push my whole schedule out of whack. What time are we streaming till tonight? Usually I go till about 3 or 3:30 on Tuesdays. Depository, that's a YouTube video for us playing the Black Splash, so I'd check that out. Amish Rowan, thanks for the Prime support. I appreciate that. Welcome. Thanks for keeping me around. No, this is a random viewer submitted list. I think I prefer a small Black Splash, but it's close. It doesn't change that much, ultimately. It doesn't really do a whole lot. It's got a lot of lands in it. This land cycles, and this is a utility land, but usually my mulligan threshold for decks like this are if a hand looks close and it doesn't have your busted card in it, mulligan. And this hand's close, but it has our busted card in it, so let's keep and hit a green source. I'm actually going to be greedy and keep this Steel Overseer. Like, obviously this hand needs a green source at some point, but I think it's worth keeping the second Overseer. That's also a card that's just, like, very good to have stay alive, so after they kill the first one, I want to have a second one. Turn 1, Steam Vent, Sleight of Hand. Some of the Phoenix decks have been playing Sleight of Hand. Could be Storm as well, though. We could also die on turn 3 if this is Storm. Scalding Tarn makes it more likely that they're a Phoenix deck, but there are also iterations of Storm that play Scalding Tarn. This is a great draw. We did in fact find a green source that lets us play a second land, or third land on turn 2. Alright, confirmed Phoenix deck. This is why I led on the Ancient Stirrings as opposed to the Hardened Scales, because I wanted to be able to find a green source right away. Although maybe I'm just supposed to grab another creature there, because I guess the Steel Overseer turns on the Mox Opal next turn anyways. So they have one bird in their bin right now. It'll be interesting to see if they floop another one into there. Thing in the Ice is the card we're really afraid of out of the opponent, which is, again, a reason to have more removal than just 2 copies of Dismember in our sideboard. Although I suppose we get to board in Damping Sphere in this matchup too, which is reasonable. What MTG content do you read, watch, listen to? I don't actually consume that much non-Twitch content these days anymore, just because in the small amounts of time I have outside of work in the family to do extra Magic stuff, I can at least count watching stuff on Twitch as like getting ideas from other people in the industry. I think I'm just gonna Steel Overseer here. There's a good chance this just dies, though. Maybe I'm supposed to play the Hangarback Walker because this just dies. Although, next turn I can play Hangarback Walker for 2 right away, which makes it a 3. Instead of playing it for a 1 into a 2 this turn. See that going either way. Yeah, I agree with that, Python. And, like, this game is kind of a good example. Like, my opponents had, like, a little bit of disruption. But for the most part, this game, my opponent's just been spinning their tires, right? Like, they haven't really been accomplishing much. Like, they've churned through half their deck, but all they've done is put 1 Arclight Phoenix into play. So it's like... Alright, I'd really like to draw a copy of... Arcbound Ravager. So am I playing Walking Ballista here? Am I playing Walking Ballista here? I don't think I have lethal this turn. Pretty sure I don't. I can pump this up. So, like, the problem is I can't attack with both. Ballista, does Ballista kill them? I guess this comes in with 2. So let's count together. So this goes up to 5. Yeah, they're totally dead. Holy crap. Yeah, because this is 12 counters, right? And then I have, yeah. Whew. Whew. Oh, I promise I'm not slow rolling you. I'm just slow, opponent. I promise I'm not slow rolling you. I'm just slow. Immortal Echoes. 3 years, Jeff. Look at how much you've grown and changed. Being a super long sub, whether you agree or not, I take partial credit for it. Thanks for the good content. Thanks for the tier 2. And welcome back, Immortal. You've been around the Hoaglandia block, so to speak. Double gut shot gonna get us. Yep. Love taps, baby, love taps, baby, baby. Whenever they're deterministically dead like this, they're just making you click through it. I can just, like, feel the sodium pouring out of the screen. I really like buffalo chicken. Thank you for the half a year. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. You do have a fancy new map sub badge, Immortal. All right, Dismember and Damping Sphere. Walking Ballista is it was really good in Standard, believe it or not. I think this is not a Throne of Geth. Candyman, thank you for the 2 months. Checking in, welcome back. Alright, so what do I want to trim here? Is animation module the cut? Is that unreasonable? Yeah, I don't know that, like, I don't actually think this is a Cage or Crypt matchup. I don't actually think this is a Cage or Crypt matchup, because I think the thing I actually care about is Thing in the Ice, and these cards combat that. Another thing is that, like, our deck is linear to a degree, so every piece of interaction I board in slows down my linear game plan, and I don't think that's really where I want to be in life. Animation module is like a grindy card, and I don't think this matchup's about grinding, and I'm going to go ahead and be greedy and cut a land again. In fact, I'm not boarding in a green source, so I'm going to cut a Llanowar Reborn, or boarding your green spells. Hangarback Walker made me so much money. Matthew and I bought dozens of this card for like $1. You want to talk about cards that people are bad at evaluating? Matthew and I top baited the week 1 open with 4 Hangarback Walkers in my deck, and we had a ton of them. And this card went from like $1.50 bulk, like borderline bulk rare, to like $20 at one point, I believe. It was real sweet. Remember that time I cut a land from my deck? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Captain Harris, crawling to earn my sword. Thank you for the 7 months. Welcome back. I appreciate it. Yeah. The mastermind of MTG Finance, you're not wrong. I think I have to mulligan this. I mean, I wrote an article telling people the card was great, so they should have listened to me. The shield, along with the actual sword, Captain Harris, that's a training sword next to your name. Alright, I'm gonna make good decisions. I think I'm actually gonna keep this on top, because I can. Ancient Stirrings for a thing. Yikes! All right, I guess this one is kind of a land. This is like land adjacent. Our opponent's playing Blue-Red Phoenix. We are up a game. My opponent boarded into 62 cards. Gotta hedge those odds, right? I'm not casting Hardened Scales here because it's not a legal play. Damping Sphere is symmetrical, so Hardened Scales cost me 2 mana. If they don't hit a Shatterstorm, we're in a very good spot. I'm just gonna let this happen because I want the Welding Jar to protect my Damping Sphere from an Abrade or a piece of point removal. I suppose they could stick Crackling Drake here, and that would be bad for us, because that allows them to race. They've been an Arclight there, but Damping Sphere is going to prevent them from putting it back into play. I'm leading on Arcbound Ravager as opposed to Arcbound Worker here, because this way, if they do that, I can sack things to keep this alive. So now the question becomes, do I want to bin Mox Opal and Welding Jar to keep this alive? I think I do. Because this puts them dead very quickly. So like, this is 6 power, this is 7-8 power. If they like kill Damping Sphere and go nuts next turn, I could be sad, but I think it's right to get aggressive here and just put them on a clock. They discarded a Karanos, and they have no cards left in their hand. So this is dealing 5 to this. I could sacrifice, so Arcbound Worker puts 5 counters on this, right? It does 3 plus 2. So if I sacrifice Arcbound Worker, this stays alive. Because the Arcbound Ravager trigger puts 2 counters on itself, and the Arcbound Worker trigger puts 3 counters on it. So this is going to go up to an 11-11. And then any castable artifact kills them next turn, because this is plus 2, this is plus 2. Hey, Regazoo, thank you for the 4 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. Yeah, they were dead to combat. They were dead to machine gunning down with the Walking Ballista. They were dead in a lot of different directions. The way that game played out was quite a fantastic example of, like, don't over sideboard in that matchup. Like, I think it's very easy to, like, look at that matchup and, like, end up boarding in Grafdigger's Cage and Damping Spheres and all these, like, boarding in over half your sideboard. And I think that's pretty incorrect. I think a lot of the time it's right to do like what we did there, and that's just bring in 5 cards, because our linear game plan still kills them by turns 3, 4, and 5 with some consistency. So, like, not diluting while still being a little bit interactive is exactly where you want to be in life. So I'm going to go ahead, that's going to go ahead and wrap our Modern segment for today. I've been going for about hour 40 or so, which is about an hour and a half is where I shoot to be. If you like this archetype, I love it. This is one of the many decks that you can find on my website. This is under the Proven section in the Modern category. Cage Rakari, thank you for the 2/3 of a year. Welcome back. You can see a ton of me playing it up there with different iterations. This deck's also in the deck queue pretty close to the top. I think it's actually, we had 2 of these in a row at the top, so we're probably going to play this archetype again on Thursday. I'm not going to play it 2 days in a row. So I'm going to run to the restroom really quick, but then we're going to move on to some standard with some Jeskai.